Are you a people pleaser? I am going to talk to you about people pleasing and why it is so detrimental if you are dating, okay? Also, if you're in a relationship. Let me go ahead and pin this comment here so everybody can see coming in. And if you identify as a people pleaser or you are a recovering people pleaser, comment PP so those watching can see you are not alone. Okay? All right? There's no shame in this. We have all come from somewhere. We all need to improve in some ways. And today we're going to be talking to people pleasers. This might on the surface sound like a great quality. Who shouldn't want to please other people? The problem is that you tend to overvalue pleasing other people when you should have healthy boundaries with yourself. We are going to get into this right now. All right. So if you identify as a people pleaser or you are a recovering people pleaser, go ahead and comment PP. Very nice. I see some people have already raised their hands. This is a safe space, no judgment, and I'm going to give you what I hope will be some very helpful tips. All right. So we're going to first get into why people pleasing is something that tends to be more readily found in women. Okay. I don't know why that sentence was such a struggle. Why women tend to be more people pleasers. That's a much easier way of saying that. The reason is because there's a lot of social conditioning when it comes to females. For women, there are a lot of things that we do to nurture a girl, to teach her to be nice and to be polite and to get along. This is great because this helps you to get along with community, and in balance, this is a great trait. One of the things we cover in my program is the balance between masculine and feminine energy. And so in this situation, well, not in this situation, just in general, there is nothing negative about feminine energy and there is nothing negative about masculine energy. However, if you are imbalanced, it could be a problem. For example, there is nothing wrong with water, but if all you drink is water and you don't get nutrients from food, that could be a problem. So there's nothing wrong with water in and of itself. There's nothing wrong with certain foods, but if you don't have it in balance, you start to have problems, okay? So a person who is a people pleaser, they are tapping too much in their into their feminine energy at that time and being so concerned with community, okay? So think about it in this sense, that masculine energy that says, I am going to focus on what works for me. I am going to go after my goal and satisfy myself. That is not a negative thing, okay? So this is why we got to get away from saying a woman who has masculine energy is problematic. She needs masculine energy to be productive in life. And so it's all about having balance, all right? Give me a thumbs up if you guys are following so far. So social conditioning teaches women to be considerate of others, and they will probably get a lot of praise for being very helpful. They will be reinforcing the ideas to put others first. Don't be selfish. You want to be considerate, okay? A lot of times girls are taught to avoid conflict, okay? This trains them to want to prioritize having harmony with other people over possibly expressing their feelings. And so if you are a mama, this is something that it's probably important to teach your daughters a healthy balance of, hey, yes, let's try to get along and be in harmony, but also understanding that her voice is important too. Okay? So we're talking about why people pleasers repel quality men, and we're first talking about why women tend to struggle more with people pleasing. All right. The second reason women and people in general struggle with people pleasing is they are afraid of getting rejected or judged. Okay. Now, the rejection is very, very obvious when it comes to dating, right? If I go against the grain, if I do anything he doesn't like, oh my God, he might not like me, and then he might not call me for a second date. He might cut off contact, or worse, he might, ghost me, what have you. So a lot of women who are single and battling people pleasing, they are plagued by this fear that I'm going to get rejected if I speak up. If I actually speak my truth, people aren't going to want me. Or if I actually speak my truth, I might get judged. For example, everyone is liking this trending song or everyone is loving this movie and you hated it. You absolutely hate it. You think it's garbage, but you don't want to say anything because you don't want someone to judge you. Or maybe in the contrast, you really like a song, but it's not the genre that your people are supposed to like. It's not a movie that most people find interesting, so you don't want to speak up and say that you like it. So you're a little bit afraid to be different because you don't want to be judged. So you just go with the flow because you feel this very strong pressure to be liked. Okay, so if you struggle and you really want to feel like you belong, you seek approval, you more than likely struggle with being a people pleaser. If you're just tuning in and you identify as a people pleaser or you are a recovering people pleaser like me, comment PP in the comments and you can see how many of your brothers and sisters are here with you. Okay, a lot of times it makes somebody feel like it's the safest way to avoid being criticized. All right. They can avoid someone disliking them or worst case scenario in their mind, being abandoned altogether. So what does a people pleaser do? They say yes to things that they don't really want to do. It could be as simple as your girlfriend inviting you to go to the movies and you just don't feel like it. You're just tired. One of the rules that I have with my circle of friends early on is if I give a no, please do not follow up with a why. That shows disrespect. Same thing with my kids. If you ask me a question and it's a yes to no option and I choose no, it is disrespectful to follow up with the why. Now with my kids, there might be a time where they say, may I ask why? And I might say, no, you can't ask. But as a rule of thumb, it is the person who is asking, it is a sign of them being emotionally immature if they try to guilt trip you for saying no. Let's say I need, cookies made for my kids' event, and I ask my friend, can she bake them for me? She should not feel obligated to say yes. Now, if she can do it and she's available, sure. But she should not do it because she's just worried about letting me down. It is okay to do things based on what you are comfortable and not comfortable doing. This is where boundaries are really important, and I'm going to be sharing some tips towards the end. But right now we're talking about why it is that women tend to really struggle with being people pleasers. The other thing is that you tend to second guess your needs. You second guess your desires. You're so focused on pleasing other people that you don't have a very strong sense of self. This is something that I really struggled with. I had somebody in my life for a big chunk of my life who was constantly critiquing, assessing, and sharing their opinions about me and my choices. So what I learned to do subconsciously was just go with the flow. Yes, okay. Because I didn't want to make waves and it was easier to just co-sign what was being assigned to me. And when I got to that place where that person was not in my life anymore, I realized I was like, the lights aren't on, crickets. I don't know how I feel about things. I don't know what my opinion is on this. And for people who are watching this who are not, don't identify as a people pleaser, this might sound baffling because to you, you know everything that you feel and you know everything that your opinion is, and you might have to hold back on sharing everything. But for a person who identifies as a people pleaser, when you start to come out of that, it's like learning something for the first time. Okay. She said, oh my God, explaining the why no to my kids takes so much energy, so I can tell them it's disrespectful. Yeah, you could let them know, calmly and say, hey, it is not my job or my place to explain my why. You just need to know. The reason why I give them a little bit of an out is because sometimes there can be a learning curve. There can be an opportunity to turn, the reason why I said no is because this is something you haven't considered and but that should be completely up to you to explain. So if they say, Mom, can I stay up late tonight? No. And they go, but why? I don't have school tomorrow. And You shouldn't have to say, because I don't want your body to be trained. And when we get up tomorrow, you don't have to, you're basically negotiating. You're basically saying, I have to give you justification for why I'm choosing what I'm choosing. I want you to start getting comfortable with because I said so. Period. End of sentence, full stop. Because I said no. I believe it was Oprah who had the quote that I absolutely loved. She said, no is a complete sentence. People pleasers feel the urge to have like diarrhea of the mouth and say because. no, I can't help you bake 3 dozen cookies for your daughter's program tomorrow because I have had a really long day at work and because da 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 da. But guess what happens? When you get in the habit of telling people why, you're going to get screwed one time when you don't have a good reason. This is what I mean. This person might say, hey, can you help me bake 3 dozen cookies? And you just want to sit on the couch. There's a show you've been wanting to binge on. You don't want to even think at all. And you just want to relax in your house. Who wants to say, no, I'm not going to help you with whatever you're asking me to do because I want to chill in some sweats and not be bothered, right? That's a little awkward and weird. And if you don't set that precedent, you don't have to follow up. And it's going to feel weird. You're going to feel like, I got to say more. But you don't. You can just say, oh, you know what? That's not going to work. Oh, you know what? That doesn't work for me. And zip your lips. It's like sales. The person who talks first loses. Oh, I really wish I could help you, but it's not going to work for me. And then the person goes, well, why? You always help me bake cookies. Oh, I know. I really wish I could this time around. And just stop, right? You have to start somewhere, but you got to start with saying no. I'm using my notes over here. If you guys have watched before, you know I get on tangents, so I got to look at my notes. So if you're wondering why I keep looking this way. But a lot of times it's because the person is second guessing their needs. That is why they are people pleasing and they're not quite sure if saying no is okay. They're not quite sure if this is what is acceptable. All right. If you're just tuning in, we're talking about reasons why women tend to struggle with this. We talked about social conditioning when it comes to women. And then we talked about just now a fear of rejection or judgment. Now, here's the thing. If your friends are going to stop being your friends because you said you had a boundary or you couldn't do something, is that really your friend? And now let's relate this to dating. If you're getting to know a guy and something doesn't work for you, it could be that he, offered to go, to the amusement park and maybe you're scared of roller coasters, or maybe he picked a date that doesn't work for you. If he dropped you because the first date he offered didn't work for you, what does that tell you about that guy? Okay. This leads me to number 3. Third reason why a lot of women struggle with people pleasing. And by the way, if you're just tuning in and you identify as a people pleaser or you are a recovering people pleaser, drop a PP in the comments and let me know that I have found my tribe. Okay. The big reason why people are people pleasers is because they have a low sense of self-worth. And because they don't feel worthy, they are looking to external factors for validation. I don't feel good inside. So when I get praise from other people on maybe how helpful I am being, how useful I am to them, then they feel validated. This can happen in dysfunctional relationships with parent-child. Have you ever seen a person who overly leans on their child and they make the kid basically be an adult? They're having to babysit their siblings. They're having to maybe cook dinner at a really young age. Or they're doing certain things. Well, if the person is constantly praising them and things like that, the child's going to start to think this is normal. And they're going to be excited to get praise when in reality, they're not supposed to be doing those types of things. Okay? She said healing is when you say no and they ask why, you tell them you weren't well all those times and you apologize. Wait, tell them you weren't well? What do you mean? What do you mean? Oh, like you weren't, you're saying they ask you why you used to say yes all the time. Is that what you're saying? And you tell them I wasn't well? That's funny. If I'm understanding correctly. Okay, so people pleasers, what happens is this will lead you to possibly overextending yourself. You burn out. You start committing to all these weekends or things like that and you're not interested. Okay? It's okay to just want some downtime for yourself. It's okay to just want some time alone. It's okay to want a weekend free or a night free where you have no commitments and you can kind of play things as they go. And so what people are doing is thinking, I'm going to please other people in order to get the love and appreciation and validation that I so deeply crave. What happens though is a lot of times you will attract, and I don't even really like attract because we all attract the same people. You will entertain people who are users. So somebody healthy will go, well, this is a user. Somebody who is a people pleaser will keep entertaining this person because they keep asking of you, and you're almost flattered by it because you like the praise you get when you come through and you help him. Okay? And then if the person then does the opposite, they critique you, now you feel down. And then you're on this horrible roller coaster of emotions because they said I'm great, I'm up. They said I'm terrible, I'm down. They said I'm great, I'm back up. They said I'm terrible, I'm down. Oh, I'm still terrible, I'm still down. It's this horrible roller coaster. Has anyone ever experienced a roller coaster of emotion like that, of a person who was basing their opinion of you on how utilitarian they were to you, how useful you were to them? Okay? So when you are a people pleaser, you're going to do things like over apologizing for things that are not your fault. You are going to feel guilty if you set aside time for yourself or you set a boundary. There's no reason to feel that way. Now, the only exception I would say is if there's somebody who's always there for you and you're always needing something from them, and then now they're asking for something. Yeah, you want to get an idea of like, is this a give or take situation? You and your neighbor always have each other's back. When you need your kid picked up from school, when you're running late from work, she has no problem doing that. Well, now if she asks you, once every often, then yeah, maybe you go, well, she's always there for me. Obviously, you have to use reason. But if you make a decision because you're setting a boundary, don't feel guilty for that. And a true friend should understand. What I'm not talking about is flaking. I just want to clarify. You made plans. You said, yeah, we're going to hang out, whoop to whoop to whoop. And now you call it the last minute and you're canceling and saying, well, I just need time for myself. This is a boundary. That's a little bit different. Okay. Don't be that friend that is always canceling at the last minute. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the initial invitation where you're being asked to do something, stand 10 toes down and say no, and it's okay. All right. We got a lot of new people. If we have any new people pleasers who have joined the chat, comment PP if you identify as a people pleaser or you are a recovering people pleaser and you are on the other side and doing much better. Okay. The fourth reason why a lot of women are people pleasers is because, and if this is you, drop a thumbs up, they want to avoid conflict. Okay. If you grew up with someone who is very volatile, meaning they had adult temper tantrums when they didn't get their way or you let them down in their mind, they caused such a scene, either raising their voice and yelling, either cutting you off, like not talking to you, giving you the silent treatment, acting funny, maybe taking away things that they originally had offered. Like, I'm going to go take you for ice cream. And now they're not. I'm not talking about you got in trouble. Like, you just disappointed them in some way, right? You might have a bit of trauma when it comes to saying no because you're trying to keep things calm. You don't want to have conflict. And so a lot of times women think, well, I don't want to seem like I'm too difficult or I'm too much. So I'm just going to keep the peace. But what you're doing is you're prioritizing what everyone else wants over your own well-being. I hope everyone's over 18 for the next thing that I'm going to say. If you're not over 18, please get off of this live stream. Get your parent. Okay. But the reason why there are a lot of women who get in date grape situations, if you get what I'm saying, okay? Date grape situations. I'm trying not to get flagged by Instagram. It comes down to people pleasing. In that moment, they know beyond a shadow of a doubt they're uncomfortable and they don't want to be in that situation, but they think about, oh my God, it's going to be so weird if I say no, stop, no, stop. If I start getting more aggressive with my no, if I push him away, if I whatever, it's going to get really awkward. And then I'm going to have to deal with whatever happens next. Now, if you've ever been in that situation, 9 times out of 10, a guy who does that, meaning forces himself on you when you're nowhere near that and you have no way near consented, he is going to also feel the awkwardness, but he's going to project it onto you and say, stop being so uptight. You know you wanted it. You're making a big deal. He's literally going to try to flip the script, which is going to then cause the people pleaser to go to an even higher level of, freaking out, for, unfortunately, the next time a situation like that happens, because they're like, I have been there and I know what's going to happen. Now, you might also have experienced a guy who was like, oh my God, you're so extra, and stopped talking to you. So this trains you that, hey, if I displease a guy in any way, he's skittish, he can run. This is what a healthy woman says. My God, you can't put your Nikes on fast enough if you're that type of creep. Thank you, Spree. That's what a healthy mind says. Oh my God, the trash just took itself out. Okay? Not calling the person trash, I'm calling that type of creepy behavior trash. But a person whose worth is based on, in their mind, being chosen by someone else and being affirmed by someone else, that is going to send all of their nervous system into whack, right? Code blue, code blue. Oh no, I did something and now the person left. As opposed to this guy was probably around just for that. And now that he realizes he's not getting it, at least not as quickly as he thought, he's removing himself for another person where he can get a faster ROI. Are you picking up what I'm putting down, ladies? This is why it is so important for your head to be in the right place. 90% of dating is your mindset. I say this all the time and I'm about to say it again. You can have twins who are identical, who will have completely different dating experiences if one has a healthy mindset and the other one does not. If one has the information she needs to be successful and the other one is winging it, they will have two completely different situations. Mindset is everything. And if you feel like, dang, do I have the tools? Do I have the right mindset? I'm not really sure. Stick around to the end. I will give you information on how you can find out more about my program that's coming up December 3rd. It's my next group, my group coaching program. But let's get back to people pleasing. No, sir, just the engagement so far. Thank you for asking. But you want to make sure that you have that right mindset, because trying to avoid conflict is not only detrimental in dating, it is horrible in relationships. And let me give you a little bit. At the beginning, you might seem like the dream partner. Oh my God, she doesn't complain. Oh, this is amazing. But what happens is you have resentment that is growing and growing and growing. And as much as you are a people pleaser and it's awkward to have conflict, you are going to get to the point where bloop, that last straw falls and you are going to lose your stuff. And it's going to appear that you are overreacting to something that was really small, because that might actually be really small. But it's been added to this list of things. And there are a lot of people who are very proud of the fact that they pick their battles, as they say. I pick my battles, I let things go. But I'm a believer in diffusing a lot of things. I don't necessarily think that every single time you have to say something, but if it's significant to you, I think it deserves a conversation. Hey, you know what? This isn't huge. It's not the end of the world, partner, but I do want to let you know that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, and this is a principle behind it. This is what bothered me. You doing da-da-da-da without running it past me, it just kind of bugged me. It doesn't have to turn into this huge fight. You can simply just express, and what you're doing is you're letting the person know, this is the blueprint to loving me properly. This is the cheat code to making me feel emotionally safe. And when I'm emotionally safe as a feminine woman, you will get the best version of me. Okay, it's like a plant that's properly watered. It's the most beautiful, and it will flourish and bring you a lot of joy. So you have to be able to move past the idea that being uncomfortable is the worst thing in the world and start to move into not having, I don't want to say pleasure because that sounds so generic, but violating your boundaries and violating your needs. That should be the greater travesty, not having a moment of uncomfortability. And this is a thing that I was raised to understand. How people deal with conflict tells you about your relationship. So if I have a girlfriend and she's only my girlfriend because everything is peachy keen, that's not my actual girlfriend, that's an associate. If I have a girlfriend who I can call and say, sis, that really pissed me off. Man, I didn't like that for this reason. And she says, oh my God, I did not intend to do that. I am so sorry. Let me da-da-da-da-da. Instead, that's a real friend. and you are a real friend, if that person can come to you and instead of getting defensive, you go, oh my God, that's the impression I gave you? What made you think that? I am so sorry. Or sometimes you might have messed up and just been like, yeah, I was, you know what? I'm sorry. That was hella selfish. I'm sorry. And then you move on. One's not beating the other person up. Okay. You address it. You identify with the issue. You address their pain and discomfort. You validate their feelings. You apologize and you talk about the plan to move on. Okay. If you're just tuning in, we're talking about people pleasers and why a lot of women tend to be people pleasers. And we're also going to get into why it's so detrimental when it comes to dating and relationship. Okay. The next one, we'll just spend a little bit of time on this one. Number 5, a lot of women feel like they have to be perfect. This is why so many women take so freaking long getting ready to go somewhere. Sometimes it's okay to slap your hair in a pony and put on some Nikes and just leave, okay? You don't have to have the most perfect eyeshadow. You don't have to have the perfectly lined lips. Sometimes you can just put chapstick on or lip gloss and just keep it pushing. You don't have to beat your face and contour. You don't have to, you know what I mean? Like, you don't have to be perfect all of the time. And to be honest, perfect is boring. On dates, oh my God, perfect is boring because perfect means I'm so in my head, I'm trying not to make a mistake, and you're not focusing on having fun. The reason you have fun and you're a good time with your girlfriends is because nobody is trying to impress anybody. Everyone is just trying to have a good time and have fun. So if you could bring that same energy to dating, it's going to be a lot better. You have to catch yourself when you're being really critical. Like, oh my God, that was so cringy. I can't believe I said that. Oh my God, I can't believe I text that. The more you can give zero you-know-whats, the more attractive you get to men. You could start pushing the boundaries and really tap into being yourself. Because here's what's the thing you need to understand. If being yourself repels the guy, bye, Felicia. Because guess what? This is me. I'm not talking about bad habits and this is just me. You got to accept me. No, I'm talking about if my natural nature, maybe a guy doesn't like curly hair. I prefer women who have their hair bone straight. Okay, well, sometimes I wear my hair curly, so maybe we're not a good look. Maybe a guy cannot stand Christian girls. Oh my God, I hate religious girls. And you are a devout believer in Jesus Christ. Repel, baby. Let that process happen. It's called vetting. It's doing what it's supposed to do. A screen door is supposed to keep certain things out. It's supposed to let the air in and keep the bugs out. Okay? Some people need to be screened out of your life. And again, we go back to the beginning. Stop taking rejection as an indication of your worth or lack thereof. It just means sometimes the trash is taking itself out. Sometimes it's neutral to where it's just not a good fit. Okay? Another thing is there's a lot of messages that women are being taught about femininity. Femininity means not having an opinion. Femininity means you don't have a mind. You're basically just this robot, this submissive robot who just, oh, my husband does everything for me. That could not be further from the truth. Feminine women are dynamic, have opinions, have thoughts, and they are not just one-dimensional. All right, so we're going to just move quickly through number 6. But those are 6 reasons why women tend to struggle with people pleasing. Are you guys enjoying this? Drop a heart in the comments if you're enjoying this, okay? I don't know if people are just coming and going or if you guys are sticking around, so let me know. I can see what's happening. But this is the meat of what I want to get to, okay? People pleasing is not attractive to healthy men. I started to put men. People who are users are very much drawn to people pleasers. If a guy can have a reaction to you saying, no, you're not ready for this yet, or I'm not ready for you to come to my house yet, and he could say something, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, you can come over. A user, someone who doesn't have your best interest at heart, he is going to be like, yeah, I hit the jackpot. Okay? Oh, thank you so much. Absolutely. If you have a question, drop it in the question queue so it doesn't get lost in the comments. But I'm glad. Yes, Kevin, I'm actually going to put it on YouTube after I finish. So when you are more yourself, you are going to screen out the people who are not supposed to be there. So the numbers are going to go down, right? You might have had 20 guys hovering around normally, but now you're down to 2. But guess what? The 2 who remain are more quality, meaning there are better matches for you, and you just intensify the attraction 10 times more. Okay, let me give you an example. Let's say someone likes spades, but they're so scared to comment whether they like them or not because you're not really sure people like spades, versus the person who's like, man, I'm a diehard spades fan. I wear a spades t-shirt, whatever. Well, guess what? It's going to draw the community of people to them. They're going to get other spades players be like, oh man, you play spades? You know what? Let's connect. We have a tournament coming up next week. You should come through. It's a dope vibe. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Someone else might see spades and be like, what is spades? I know it's a suit and cards, but like, is that a game? Like what? Don't be afraid. And that was a weird example, but don't be afraid to be yourself, be loud, be yourself loudly. Be yourself, be who you are. Okay? Don't try to change who you are to accommodate other people when it comes to the core of who you are. Etiquette, consideration, and things like that, yes. Work on being a considerate person. But when it comes to trying to change who you are, if you're a chatty person, be chatty. If you're a more quiet person, be quiet. If you're a goofy person, be goofy. Don't try to be this vanilla version because no one really remembers vanilla. Vanilla works as a base to add all the other stuff to it. I'm sure you can find some people who like vanilla, right? But it's not this thing that you're going to write home about. Versus the chocolate covered, fudge sundae that had all the toppings and all the works and oh my God. Okay. When you are a people pleaser, a healthy person can see and assume and pick up on the fact this person doesn't have a lot of self-respect. This person doesn't have boundaries. This person doesn't say no to other people. And I heard a quote that said to my mind. A man seeing a woman who does not respect herself subconsciously, he's not consciously thinking this, subconsciously says, if she doesn't even respect herself, how in the world could she respect me? That's like someone trying to be a bodyguard and he's getting beat up. You can't even defend yourself. How are you going to defend me? You should love yourself more than anybody, and you let people walk all over you. You let people mistreat you. How are you gonna look out for me? Okay. So be yourself. Speak up for yourself. And I teach you in the program how to do things in a way that you're still in your feminine, you're still being polite. This is not about being nasty. This is not about being a B word. This is not about being, so set in your ways that you're so rigid, Oh, thank you for the hair compliments. It's not about that. It's about being so comfortable with who you are that you have the most loving, take it or leave it attitude. Yes, I will be posting it to Instagram, so I will for sure answer that question. You can go through and watch, and you can skip to the end and get your answer. Okay. He said, I've also applied that same logic to women who cheat or women who are side chicks. Right. You don't even value yourself. Okay. Confidence is one of the sexiest qualities a person can have. So what do we do to break the cycle? What do we do to get off the people-pleasing train? Well, the first thing you want to do is be aware, right? First thing to overcoming your problem is admitting you have one. So recognize I am doing this because I'm afraid that XYZ will happen if I don't, as opposed to I'm doing this because I want to. So when you're facing a situation where someone is asking something of you, ask yourself, is my yes because I genuinely want to do it out of the kindness of my heart, or I genuinely want to do it because I'm interested, or am I doing it to avoid fill in the blank? Okay? That is one of the first things you can do to kind of work your way out of this mindset of people pleasing. Start small. Number 2, start small. You could say no to little things. Your teacher asking you if you can maybe she's asking for volunteers and you're like, oh my God, I always just volunteer because I feel bad and she made eye contact. You could just not sign up. Okay. say no to little things if they don't align with your priorities. I have to say no all the time. I have a ton of people who want me to come on their show. I have a ton of people who want me to do stuff, especially in the evenings. I am very selfish when it comes to my evenings. I have my show on Thursdays. I do my coaching program on Tuesdays. And Mondays and Wednesdays can kind of be hairy because sometimes if we travel, that's a day that I'm either recovering or traveling. And that pretty much just leaves me Wednesday to do anything that I want to do, just relaxing, hanging out with my guy, binge watching shows or whatever. And I like to go to bed at a decent hour. So I have to be okay with possibly looking like a bad person by saying no. But that's okay. That is a boundary that I need to set. And if somebody has a problem with me because I don't want to commit to doing something, on their platform or something like that, that tells me that's not an actual friend. Now, if I choose to do something from time to time, that's fine. And that's my prerogative, but I should not feel obligated to do it. So, if you ever see me on something, I absolutely want to be there. Okay. Your girl is not under duress. I'm signaling SOS. Okay. Saying no actually helps people by removing their crutch. Absolutely. That is such a good point. Yes, you're helping the other person too, especially if they're coming to you constantly last minute, or trying to get bailed out of a situation they put themselves in and then trying to guilt trip you. There was a little sign over this after school program director's desk, and I memorized it because I thought it was dope. It said, your lack of planning, like the person who came into my office, your lack of planning does not constitute an emergency on my part. So you, the kid, you forgot you had an assignment tomorrow. Don't expect me to jump and run to the big box store and buy the poster board. You should have let me know ahead of time. Or, oh, sir, you didn't tell me you were traveling this week. Had I known, I would have done your dry cleaning or whatever. You don't have to feel guilty, and watch for people who try to make you feel guilty because they didn't plan. There's a show that I was watching. I like to watch kind of like no-brainer shows when I'm doing my miles, because I do 5 miles a day. So I'll just kind of like zone out and watch a show. And there's this one show, and it's called Inmate to Roommate. And oh my goodness, every single person without fail, there are different nationalities, different ages, they live in different states. They all have the same thing where they so the person who lives in a house volunteers to say, you could stay at my place and I'll be a launching pad to let you get back into society. And usually they don't charge rent right away and things like that. Just out of the kindness of their heart, they want to help this person get back on their feet. But what happens is, and apparently there's just this common thread with people who have been in prison, obviously don't make good decisions, they get there and they tend to just want to take advantage. They don't want to look for a job. They are not contributing around the house. And they're not abiding by the rules that are set out very clearly. A lot of times they actually write it out and put it somewhere. And so what always happens is when it's time for the consequence, meaning they either say, you got to go, because we said it's a 0-strike rule. You either got to go, or no, we said this is a problem. They will turn and then say, oh, you're not a nice person. Oh, you're treating me like a child. That's what a lot of people say on the show. Oh, you're treating me like a child. Not realizing, no, you are just sitting in the puddle that you peed in. You peed. You're sitting in that puddle of pee and you're complaining that you smell like pee. Well, you peed. So, sorry for that crass example. You want to make sure that when people are pushing back to your no, it's not them trying to guilt trip you because they did not do the proper planning or they are not a good person, as we talked about in the date violation situation. Okay. The other thing I want to say why this is so problematic, why being a people pleaser repels quality men and really attracts toxic men, is men of value things that are harder to obtain. If it's not something that every Tom, Dick, and Harry can access, a guy of value rather, is going to value it more. Most people don't want something that everybody can access. You prioritize, or you value, I can't even know the word. You see the value in something more when it's a rare thing. There are only 3 of these that are made, or this has a very unique experience, or only these people are being let in, or it requires this credit score. So don't be afraid to have boundaries. Don't be afraid to have standards that eliminate some people, because it's going to make you more attractive to the right people. And confidence is one of the sexiest qualities a human being can have. Okay? So I forgot to add those in. So we're going to go back to breaking the cycle. So practice self-awareness. Ask yourself, am I doing this because I want to, or am I scared of XYZ that can happen? 2, set boundaries. Start with little things. 3, challenge negative beliefs. So the idea is that I have to be liked by everybody, and every guy that I date has to pick me. You got to stop thinking that way. You don't want everyone to like you, okay? You only want the right guy to pick you, and the guy that you also pick back. Also challenge the belief that I'm only valuable if I'm helping people. Relationships are not always about what they can get from you. It should be reciprocal, and sometimes just you being there should be enough. Your worth is not dependent upon other people's opinions. You're not awesome because you got picked by a guy, and you're not trash because you didn't get picked. It's just that information. It's just information. I now know this man didn't pick me. It has nothing to do with your worth, okay? You also need to make sure you tune into your needs. A lot of people will get sick because they're overdoing it. Our body needs rest. We have to be able to learn ourselves. I have someone who just told me today that they just dropped a ton of weight because they've been really stressed out. A lot of times your job will ask you for too much. Maybe your circle will ask you for too much. And you have to prioritize self-care. Sometimes you have to turn that phone off. Sometimes you have to take that day off of work. Sometimes you just have to shut the world out and get back to taking care of yourself. Or maybe when you are at home, not even cleaning, allowing yourself, you know what? I'm going to rest today. It's okay. Okay? And seek support. That's the final tip for breaking the cycle. If you need someone loving who's been there and is a recovering people pleaser, I can help you. I know what the signs are. I know what it looks like. I know what it feels like. I would love to help you on your journey. I have 3 spots left in my program because I max out at 10, so we don't have too many women at a time. But my December program is starting in like 2 weeks, y'all. Look at the calendar. Yeah, 2 weeks. December 3rd, we launch. So if you have been procrastinating, you've been hearing about this, I've been talking about it for a year. If you've been saying, I might be interested, well, I don't know this, don't make excuses, okay? Set up an appointment to at least get information on this program and see if it's a good fit for you. All you have to do is click the link in my bio. It says discovery call, schedule a discovery call. We'll sit on the phone, we'll talk, and I'll tell you exactly what it looks like, what we cover, and then what the investment is. And if it's a good fit for you, you can move forward. When you overcome this people-pleasing mindset, you are going to see a difference in the caliber of men who stick around. Okay, I'm not going to say your numbers go up. They don't. They will go down. But if you listened to this earlier, we don't necessarily want the numbers to go up. We want there to be only qualified men remaining. Okay, so there are only 3 spots left. If you want to have one of those 3 spots, book the appointment today, because I already have a couple lined up for this week. So if the people who are lined up this week, if they take a spot, that's less spots, right? Lynn says, tap in, the coaching is worth it. Thank you so much. And I just posted today, one of my girls who went through the program, she was one of the early ones, because I've been doing this for a year. She just hit me. She said, I have a man. She said, and your advice was really helpful. It was instrumental in not only getting to where she needs to be, but in understanding men and being able to relate to what her guy needs. So I got to see the pics and the videos, and I am so excited for her. And I want that for all of you, especially during cuffing season. Okay. If you enjoyed this live stream, drop me a heart. I am going to post it on YouTube. Just give me time to download it, and then I'll post it there on YouTube. I'm just on Chasing Yonci. And if you are watching the replay on YouTube, comment replay, because wow, you made it to the end, and I want to thank you personally. All right, guys, have a great day, and I will see you next time.